Hi, I'm Naomi Nachman and this is Sunny Side Up. So I've asked Aviva Friedman, who's professionally trained, she's known as Gourmand at Large on Instagram, and she's a personal chef, and she's going to make something so special for us today. So welcome.
Thank you for having me here. So happy to be here.
I'm so excited. What are we going to be doing?
Okay, so today we're doing duck, which is one of my favorite things to cook, especially for a Yom Tov or a holiday. It is a really versatile protein, and it's still something that you would want for a lavish meal.
And I think that duck breasts are coming to the market more and more. You used to only be able to buy a whole duck, but now we can buy duck in pieces and broken down already from the supermarkets.
Which is really handy, and there are also more companies on the market, which is nice to have a variety. It's just much more approachable now than it used to be.
I think duck is like the new chicken.
I wish. So we're gonna do a pan-seared duck breast. We're gonna actually brine it first, which is pretty unusual for a duck recipe.
I've never heard of brining duck.
So you always hear about it with turkey for Thanksgiving,
right?
Because you always hear your turkey dries out, be careful, brine it. So with duck, it's something that I love to do because you get to infuse an incredible flavor before you even start cooking. And duck is a poultry, and poultry breast is dry. It's just the way it is, no matter how carefully you cook it. We'll brine it, it'll be juicy and super flavorful before you even start.
Okay, cannot wait to try doing this. Okay, so what do we need?
Okay, so we're gonna start with our brine ingredient first. We're gonna do something a little spiced, a little fruity. We're going to be using salt and sugar, the key ingredients in a brine, along with water. And then we're gonna spice it up with some cinnamon and a little orange for some more flavor.
Okay, excellent. Okay.
So here we have a quart of water ready in the bowl. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna slice up an orange. We're gonna leave the peel on because it has all like the floral flavors of the zest.
I just want to point out your knife skills are gorgeous.
Thanks. I would hope so at this point. I've been doing it for long enough.
I guess that's one of the things, that you learn at culinary school.
Yeah. I mean, also having good knife skills speeds everything up.
And a good knife.
Right. I was actually just thinking that this knife is actually really nice and sharp. So if you actually want to invest in your knives, buy a knife sharpener. It's a good thing to have in your house.
Okay.
So we've had the orange in the brine. We are going to add in 2 teaspoons of cinnamon. I know this sounds like a lot for just 2 duck breasts, but it's not like the duck is going to absorb all of it. We want to get enough in there so you get the flavor of the cinnamon.
Okay.
We're gonna add
It smells good already.
I know, the orange and the cinnamon,
it's like,
heavenly,
wow.
right? We're gonna add in the salt. You will find that most brines require you to heat up the water, add the salt, dissolve the sugar. We're gonna skip that step. Keep it chilled. It also, if you have to do that, then you have to cool your brine before you brine whatever it is you're brining.
Right, because it'll end up cooking and poaching the duck.
Which is kind of gross. So we're gonna leave that here, just mix it a little to dissolve it and take that fun shortcut. And this way you can put it right in the fridge. So we have 2 duck breasts here. These are from the grocery store. You can see they're already clean. Sometimes you'll have to just trim off the feathers, or if the skin is a little too thick, trim that down with a sharp knife. But these are beautiful. You can see the silver skin has already been removed, which is kind of crucial because that's the part that will be chewy when you cook it if you don't get rid of it.
Okay, so all these great tips coming your way.
We're just gonna submerge that in the brine, and then you're going to put that in the fridge for 3 to 4 hours to let the flavors really penetrate.
You wouldn't do it overnight though?
No, because it's a small piece of meat and it will get like overly salty if you do leave it for too long.
Okay, so we've pulled the duck from the fridge and we're gonna take it out of the brine. How do we do that? Okay,
so you just fish it out of the brine. It's been brining for about 3.5 hours. You're gonna wanna lay it on a paper towel, and you're going to dry it off really, really well so that it doesn't start steaming in the pan. We're gonna leave that there for now. So basically just pat it dry with another paper towel really well. And then you're gonna season it lightly with salt.
We see a lot of scoring that goes on with duck. Do we have to do that with duck breasts?
So you do see that. Basically that's because you don't want the skin to tighten up and curl up the whole breast. But I don't think that's going to be necessary here. You see how the skin is really thin. It's not going to just crunch up as it renders.
Okay.
So we're going to season it with salt. I'm not sticking my ducky hands into the little pot of salt here. Keep it clean. Poultry and raw food does not mix well. So what we're going to do is now we're going to lay the duck in a pan. The pan is not preheated.
Yeah, it's cold. Okay, just want to show everyone my hands are in.
Yeah.
Because it's cold.
And what that is going to do, that's going to allow the duck to render out slowly.
And we're going to watch the fat drain out?
Exactly. And in a larger duck breast, you're going to have to actually drain the pan a few times while the fat renders, so that it's not like deep frying in its own fat.
Is this with the kind of fat that you save and you throw on potatoes and roasted vegetables?
I save the duck fat. I keep it in a container in the fridge. It accumulates. It will last for about a month, I believe, in the fridge, properly sealed. Or you can freeze it. That works too. It won't affect it at all.
So right now our flame is on. I'm just going to show. It's on quite low.
Yeah, so it's on quite low. We're going to let the pan come up to temperature, and we want to basically what we want to do is we want to render out the fat before the skin gets a good sear on it. So you have access to all of that. If you do it properly, the skin will get really nice and crispy, and you won't have a layer of raw fat underneath.
And how long does this process take?
So with a small duck breast, it should be done in about between 10 and 20 minutes. With a larger one, it will take a long time. You're gonna have to sit there at least a half an hour. These are pretty small, so it should go fairly fast. And also a lot of the fat has been trimmed off the top, which is something you can do to speed up the process. Or if you feel like you're not gonna properly render out all the fat, a little trimming will help.
Okay, we are learning lots about duck breasts. I'm very anxious to see how this is all going to turn out. I love duck. I see the duck breasts have really shrunk down now.
Yeah, that happens when you cook them. I mean, it happens to all protein, right? There is shrinkage when you cook. So now that the skin is rendered out, and as you can see, it's a beautiful dark color, which is what you want. That'll give it great flavor. We're going to flip it, and because these are small, we can finish them quickly on the stove top. If they were larger, I would have the oven on really hot, like 400. Just stick the pan in there.
But we don't need to do that.
No, they're really small duck. They'll be ready in like a matter of minutes, probably like 1 or 2 minutes.
And then our next step is the pan sauce.
Yes, we're gonna remove the duck, let it rest. With duck, you really wanna be careful not to overcook it because it will dry out.
Yeah,
once duck that like
goes fast.
Unpleasant, right, and you'll get that unpleasant ducky flavor that you don't want. But if you're careful and you leave it at like a beautiful rare, medium rare.
The reason why we can eat duck breasts medium rare is because duck breast is waterfowl. It's not technically poultry, so you can eat it on the rarer side.
Let's remove the duck now. We're gonna put it on this plate here to rest. And in the meantime, we're going to make a pan sauce. So what we have here is pomegranate juice. It is the rice.
How high do we want this temperature?
So you can start it off on like a medium, low flame because it's gonna sizzle as it goes in.
So what's this?
This is pomegranate juice actually. We're gonna make a pomegranate glaze for the duck.
Okay.
So once that's in, we are going to crank up the flame because we want the sugars to caramelize, wanna let the juice reduce and kind of get that darker flavor.
Okay.
In that, we're going to add in peeled sliced ginger. This is not going to be put on the final plate. Uncooked ginger is like a little unpleasant, chewy, and like
so we just
really
want
intense.
to bring out those flavors.
Right, we're gonna let that ginger simmer in there. Star anise pot. I know this is a little unusual. Not everybody has it in their house, but it is one of those flavors that's not necessarily at the forefront, but it will build layers of flavor in the sauce.
Okay, I'm very curious. I've never actually used it in my cooking, so we're opening up everybody's flavor profiles today.
Yes, it's used in Thai cooking actually, and it is delicious. We're gonna put in a cinnamon stick also. We've already used ground cinnamon, but for this we just wanna, again, build layers of flavor. That's what really makes a good sauce, is when you build a flavor there. We have the flavor from the duck that was seared in the pan. We're building it now with, reducing the pomegranate juice and all the seasoning and spices that are going in there.
This is cooking down, now it's still...
We're gonna add in a couple of cracked black peppercorns. I like to just take some whole ones and put them on a cutting board and just use the bottom of a saute pan or a saucepan.
Not even with a grinder?
No, I don't want like tiny pieces, just cracking them in half or in thirds. Just use the bottom of a saute pan, it's the perfect tool.
Okay, fantastic.
We're gonna use a little squeeze of honey here, probably about a tablespoon. And last but not least, we are going to use a little dry red wine. This is a Baron Herzog Merlot. You can use whatever you prefer, but something dry is best, about a 1/4 cup. It's important to put that in before it's done cooking. It can also reduce and deepen the flavor, but also you want to burn off the alcohol, obviously. Okay. Unless you don't, in which case, kudos to you.
Why wait for Yontef to drink a little wine? Anytime is good.
Yes, and now we're gonna let this reduce down, get a little syrupy, a little glazy, and it's gonna be delicious. Okay, so the duck has rested, that's ready to go, and you can see that the sauce has reduced down to a beautiful syrupy glaze. You can see that it's coating the spoon nicely, and it's glossy, and it is also a beautiful color. Right. Still has that like red, rich hue.
It looks gorgeous.
Yeah.
Okay, so what
and
do
now
we do?
we are going to slice our duck. Duck is actually really meaty. Like that's the kind of thing that you want to eat with a steak knife. This is like a really rare, beautiful pink.
Beautifully cooked. Absolutely beautiful. All on the stovetop.
Yeah. And that's like the convenience of having a really small duck. Also, it'll be ready much faster.
Would you consider this like an appetizer portion?
So I actually think that, if you're eating like a regular sized meal, you're not looking for a cowboy steak, a small duck breast is actually one per person. A larger one, I might actually say like you can split between two.
But you could do this an appetizer. You could put
yes,
2 to 3
you can put a few
per plate
slices.
with a beautiful
Exactly.
drizzle, some of your garnish.
Exactly.
Okay,
it's
especially duck.
amazing.
I love how that looks. Look how beautifully she's plated it.
Yeah, now we're gonna use the sauce, a little bit on top.
Ah.
This is really like where you get the richness of all those flavors, and you're gonna see how the cinnamon in the brine marries really, really well with the cinnamon in the sauce.
Okay, so we've got a little bit of arugula,
A little arugula.
here.
I'm a big fan of, you eat with your eyes, so I think everything has to be beautiful and colorful. Not into non-functional garnishes, like the arugula works with the dish.
You always want to garnish with something that's...
Right, I am not putting a giant sprig of raw rosemary on anything because it is not useful to anybody.
No.
It looks pretty, but doesn't do much. And we also have these segmented oranges. You can see this is actually a good technique to know. Take off the outside of the orange, the pith, the peel, and just take out these wedges with a sharp knife. And
That's
that
a great knife skill that you can, that people can practice.
Right, and that also marries really well with the orange in the brine, and it's fresh and bright and citrusy.
So let's dig right in. All right,
Good.
we've got
So
our duck in our amazing reduction. Okay.
Okay.
It's my happy dance. Oh my God. That is
So tender also.
so tender. I love the star anise. I've never had it before. Let's everyone just really break your flavor molds and change your flavor profiles. This is an incredible dish. Thank you, Aviva, so much for joining us.
Thank you
right here on kosher.com.
Such a good time.
Thank you so much. For this recipe and many more, go check out kosher.com.